Perhaps you had a few too many treats over the holidays, or maybe you just let one cheat meal turn into a cheat week. Regardless of the reason though, I'm going to give you 3 simple strategies to get right back on track with your nutrition that you can implement today to stop the spiral. And this last one is one I've never shared on social media before, so stick around because it's a game changer. First things first, we have to address that inner critic though, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm referring to that little voice inside your head that tells you that you're a piece of shit for eating tasty treats and that you have a tiny wiener. Wait, your inner critic doesn't say that? Yeah, mine either. And the reality is this, the first thing we need to do to stop the spiral is just address the bullshit story you're telling yourself. Are you actually a bad person because you enjoyed some pumpkin bread or ate a pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream? When you say it out loud, it sounds kind of silly, but what we really need to do here is address the diet you were on previously and the labels that is given food, because the second you start labeling this food is good and this food is bad, you successfully attached an emotion to it, and something that doesn't even have an emotion for that matter, which creates a problem for you internally because you can't enjoy certain foods guilt-free like you should be able to. So rather than viewing food as good or bad, step 1 is to remove those labels altogether and see if your previous diet passes the sustainability test. Now, the sustainability test is a quick 3-question filter to run your nutrition plan through to, well, see how sustainable your diet actually is. And question 1 is, does this diet get me into a calorie deficit? Yes or no? Question number 2 is, does this diet teach me how to come out of a calorie deficit without putting the weight back on? Yes or no? And question 3, can I realistically stick with this diet for the rest of my life? Yes or no? If you can honestly say yes to all 3, you have a winner. But if not, we need to go back to the drawing board, because a sustainable diet should allow room to incorporate your favorite treats here and there without going completely off the rails. But it's imperative that you address your inner critic and your relationship with food first, otherwise you just keep repeating the same old cycle. We all clear on that? Good shit. But what's the next logical step to get back on track? Well, in order to answer that, we have to talk about one thing that so many hyper-palatable foods like pizza or burgers have in common, aside from being delicious, and that's that they're convenient. And if you're anything like most other people in the 21st century trying to juggle a demanding career with hobbies and time with loved ones, if you don't have a plan for your next meal, what do? I don't know about you, but I end up smashing 87 snacks in the pantry before finally saying f it and just ordering takeout. So if you really want to get back on track, implement this next step right now. Plan out your next 3 meals. Seriously, it is so simple, but it makes all the difference in the world. But before we can plan your meals, we need to know what ingredients you have to work with in the first place, which is why you're going to take a look through your house and you're going to see what protein options you have. And ideally, there's 2 to 3 of them. Maybe you find something like eggs, chicken, and ground beef. Then you're going to identify what carbs you have on hand, like corn tortillas, rice, potatoes, and based on those ingredients, you're going to write down what meals you can make. So maybe you could pair eggs with some diced potatoes that you cook in the air fryer and you have yourself a breakfast. So you could pair the ground beef with corn tortillas to make tacos or a taco salad for lunch. And for dinner, maybe you pair chicken with the rice and add a few frozen vegetables with a simple sauce recipe you find online. It's easy to fill in the gaps with what veggies you need in order to complete each meal. And just like that, you're done. There's really no secret here when it comes to planning meals. You just have to not be lazy about it, because these 5 to 10 minutes of planning is going to save you literal hours of stumbling around the kitchen during the week. But even if you've addressed your inner critic and planned your next 3 meals, we still have a problem to address, and that is training yourself to break the spiral earlier. The reality is this. Falling off track is normal for everyone to some degree. The difference between those who get amazing long-term fat loss results and those who continue the yo-yo cycle, though, is simply the degree to which they get off track and how fast they can get back in alignment with their goals after things like vacations, work travel, holidays, things of that nature. Which leads me to one of the biggest changes I have ever made to my own nutrition and has allowed me to stay consistent for the past 12 years. And that is incorporating something called a reset meal. Now, I personally used to be all or nothing when it came to the nutrition side due to years of cutting weight and wrestling and developing a semi-unhealthy relationship with food where I would either be crazy rigid with my nutrition or totally binge on insane amounts of food. And I started incorporating these reset meals as a trigger so my body would recognize the consumption of this meal as a stoplight of sorts, which cues me to get back on track. So what are the criteria for a good reset meal anyway? Well, it should incorporate, number 1, plenty of vegetables for good micronutrient content. Number 2, it should contain a solid portion of protein, ideally 30 to 60 grams. Number 3, it should be delicious and take 10 minutes or less to prepare. Number 4 should be something that you can make with ingredients that you have frequently around your house. And lastly, and most importantly, it should be delicious, which is why my go-to is a taco salad with bell peppers, onions, romaine, and a little non-fat Greek yogurt and salsa because it meets all of these criteria, and I've made it so many times at this point, I don't even have to think twice about it. And if you can think of 2 to 3 reset meals based on things that you normally have around your house with the criteria I just gave you, you will set yourself up to get back on track faster than ever before the next time you have a small detour. And while you are now armed with the strategies you need to get back on track with your nutrition, unfortunately we didn't have time to address some of the fundamentals of nutrition in the first place, one of the most important being how to calculate your protein needs. So if you're curious to know how much protein you should be consuming to meet your fitness goals, check out this video here, and I'll see you on the next one.